Hi folks, and welcome back to another Trivia Night 6-round pub quiz. 100 points, a score of over 60 is good. A score of over 80, however, is excellent. Round 1 is your quickfire trivia round. 10 easy-ish questions, 1 point for each correct answer. Good luck, let's crack on with the quiz. Question 1. How many minutes are there in 12 hours? And the correct answer is 720. Question 2. How many carats is pure gold? And that would be 24 carats. Question 3. On a map of the world, what line of latitude sits at 0 degrees? And that would be the equator. Question 4. How many official planets, as of 2025, are there in the solar system? There are a total of 8 planets. Question 5. What is the name of Microsoft's spreadsheet program? And that is called Microsoft Excel. Question 6. What nationality was the fashion designer Yves Saint Laurent? He was French. Question 7. What was the name of Jennifer Aniston's character in the sitcom Friends? Her character's name was Rachel Green. Question 8. Which rock group had an 80s hit with the song Sweet Child O' Mine? And that was the band Guns N' Roses. Question 9. Taken from the Latin argentum, what is the chemical symbol for silver? And that would be Ag. And question 10. Glaucoma affects which part of the human body? It would normally affect your eyes. Round 2 is all about world history, and we do have a global audience, so let me know in the comments if you're tuning in from Canada, Australia, South Africa or New Zealand. You guys make up about 25% of the channel's viewers. Alright, 10 open questions, 2 points for each correct answer. Let's dive in. Question 11 for 2 points. Which US president died of pneumonia 31 days after being inaugurated in 1841? That was William Henry Harrison. Harrison gave the longest inaugural address in US history on a cold wet day without a coat or hat. As a result, he died 31 days later of pneumonia, serving the shortest presidential term ever. Question 12. What major event began in Australia in 1851? That was the Gold Rush. Question 13. How many of Henry VIII's children became monarchs of England? And the correct answer is 3. That was Edward VI, Mary I and Elizabeth I. Question 14. Which European nation first colonised parts of South Africa in the 1600s? And that would be the Netherlands. The Dutch East India Company marked the beginning of the European colonisation in South Africa in 1652 by establishing a supply station at the Cape of Good Hope. Question 15. In what century did the Black Death sweep across Europe, killing 30% of the population? That was the 14th century. Question 16. In what decade of the 20th century did Rosa Parks refuse to give up her seat on a bus, sparking the Montgomery bus boycott? And that happened in the 1950s. On December the 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks' refusal to give up her seat sparked a year-long bus boycott and helped launch Martin Luther King Jr. as a national civil rights leader. Question 17. In which century did Brazil gain independence from Portugal? They gained independence in the 19th century. Brazil declared independence from Portugal in 1822, led by Dom Pedro I, who became the country's first emperor. Question 18. What was the name of the first Russian president after the fall of the USSR? That was President Boris Yeltsin. Question 19. In what year of the 20th century did Japan adopt its current pacifist constitution? That was in 1947. Article 9 of Japan's post-World War II constitution renounced war and forbids maintaining war potential, yet Japan does maintain armed forces known as the Japan Self-Defense Forces, purely for protection. And question 20, who became US President after Richard Nixon resigned in 1974? And that was Gerald Ford. Round 3 is called Which of These? 10 multiple choice questions, 2 points for each correct answer. Question 21. Which of these is the name of an Olympic track cycling event? Would that be the Madeleine, Madison or Marilyn? It is commonly called the Madison. Question 22. Which of these countries is not part of Scandinavia? Would that be Denmark, Finland or Norway? And the correct answer here is Finland. While Finland is a Nordic country, it's not traditionally considered part of Scandinavia, which typically refers to Norway, Sweden and Denmark. Question 23. Which of these gods has a name and a role that appear unchanged in both Greek and Roman mythology? Would that be Apollo, Cupid or Hermes? And that would be Apollo. Question 24. Which of these is not a painting or series of paintings by Vincent van Gogh? Would that be irises, sunflowers or water lilies? And the correct answer is water lilies. Water Lilies is a famous series by Claude Monet, who was a founder of French Impressionism. Question 25. Which of these famous battles occurred first? Would that be the Battle of Balaclava, Gettysburg or Waterloo? And it was the Battle of Waterloo. The Battle of Waterloo was in 1815, Balaclava in 1854 and Gettysburg in 1863. Question 26. Which of these is not a type of pasta? Would that be gnocchi, orzo or tostada? And the correct answer is tostada. Tostada is a fried or toasted Mexican tortilla dish. Question 27. Which of these composers was born first? Was that Beethoven, Brahms or Chopin? And the correct answer was Beethoven. Beethoven was born in 1770, Chopin in 1810 and Brahms in 1833. Question 28. Which of these is not an official language in Switzerland? Would that be Flemish, German or Romansh? And the correct answer here is Flemish. Switzerland has 4 official languages: German, French, Italian and Romansh. Flemish is a variety of Dutch spoken in Belgium. Question 29. Which of these superheroes is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Would that be Aquaman, Daredevil or The Flash? And that would be Daredevil. Daredevil is a Marvel hero, whilst Aquaman and The Flash belong to the DC Universe. And question 30. Which of these countries is not landlocked? Would that be Bolivia, Hungary or Slovenia? And you are correct if you said Slovenia. Slovenia has a short stretch of coastline on the Adriatic Sea, giving it access to the Mediterranean. Both Bolivia and Hungary are fully landlocked countries. Round 4 is called This v That, and it's a 50-50 multiple choice round. 1 point for each correct answer. Question 31. Which building is taller? Would that be the Eiffel Tower or the Empire State Building? It is of course the Empire State Building. Question 32. Which tech company was founded first? Apple or Microsoft? And the correct answer is Microsoft. Microsoft was founded in 1975 and Apple just a year later in 1976. Question 33. Which film was released first? Jaws or Star Wars? And you were correct with the answer Jaws. Question 34. Which gaming console came first? The Nintendo 64 or the Sony PlayStation? It was the Sony PlayStation. Question 35. Which of these authors was born first? Charles Dickens or Mark Twain? And the correct answer is Charles Dickens. Question 36. Which landmark is older? The Pyramids of Giza or Stonehenge? And that would be Stonehenge. Question 37. Which city has more miles of canals? Would that be Amsterdam or Venice? And it is actually Amsterdam. Amsterdam has over 60 miles of canals compared to Venice's 26. Question 38. Which band formed first? The Beatles or the Rolling Stones? And you were correct if you said the Beatles. Question 39. Which country uses more energy per capita? Would that be Iceland or the United States? It is in fact Iceland. Iceland has the highest per capita energy consumption in the world. And question 40. Which ancient civilization lasted the longest? The ancient Egyptians or the ancient Greeks? And the correct answer here was the Egyptians. Round 5. This week it's on music. 10 open questions, 2 points for each correct answer. Question 41 for 2 points. Who is the lead singer of the band Stereophonics? And his name is Kelly Jones. Question 42. Which Canadian-American singer released the album called Jagged Little Pill in the 1990s? And that was Alanis Morissette. Released in 1995, Jagged Little Pill became a global sensation, featuring hits like You Ought to Know and Ironic. It won multiple Grammys and later inspired a Broadway musical based on its themes. Question 43. Which Australian rock star fronted the band INXS during the 80s and 90s? His name was Michael Hutchence. Question 44. Tige Michel Verwest is the real name of what record producer and DJ? He is better known as a DJ Tiesto. Tiesto was born in the Netherlands and is often called the godfather of EDM. He was the first DJ to perform at the Olympics, playing live at the 2004 Athens Games opening ceremony. Question 45. Which K-pop band had an international hit with the song Butter in 2022? And that was the band BTS. Question 46. Endless Summer Vacation was a 2023 hit album for which artist? And that was Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus released Endless Summer Vacation in 2023, featuring the smash hit Flowers, which became her longest running #1 single on the Billboard Hot 100. Question 47. Gary Lightbody is the lead singer of which British band? And he is the lead singer of Snow Patrol. Question 48. Which American rock band released the album Hybrid Theory in the year 2000? And that was the band Linkin Park. Hybrid Theory was Linkin Park's debut album and became one of the best-selling debut albums of the 21st century. Its blend of rock, rap and electronic elements defined the nu metal genre. Question 49. Which Neil Diamond song begins with the lyrics, "Where it began, I can't begin to knowin'"? And that is the song Sweet Caroline. Sweet Caroline became one of Neil Diamond's most beloved anthems. It famously sung at sports events worldwide, especially at Boston Red Sox games, with the fans shouting, "So good, so good, so good." And question 50. Which band wrote the song Islands in the Stream, which became a global hit for Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. And that was written by the Bee Gees. The song was originally intended as a soul song for Marvin Gaye, but became a massive country pop crossover hit for Dolly and Kenny in 1983, topping charts around the world. Now, if you've made it this far in the quiz and you're enjoying the quiz, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for notifications. It really helps YouTube push this video out to a wider audience. As always, round 6 is your general knowledge round. 10 multiple choice questions and it's straightforward, 2 points for each correct answer. Good luck. Question 51. What term is astronomer Fred Hoyle famously credited with coining? Would that be the Big Bang, Event Horizon or supernova? And the correct answer is the Big Bang. Fred Hoyle actually used Big Bang mockingly during a 1949 radio broadcast. He didn't believe in the theory, and ironically the name stuck and is now the standard term for the origin of the universe. Question 52. Who is the current Secretary General of NATO as of June 2025? Is that Jens Stoltenberg, Mark Rutte or Ursula von der Leyen? It is Mark Rutte. Question 53. Hansen's disease is more commonly known as what? Would that be leprosy, tuberculosis or typhoid? And it is better known as leprosy. Hansen's disease or leprosy is caused by the bacterium Mycobacterium leprae. Despite its historical stigma, it is now a curable disease with modern antibiotics. Question 54. What is the name of the desert planet, the home of spice, in Frank Herbert's sci-fi saga Dune? Is that the planet Arrakis, Caladan or Kitane? And it is the planet Arrakis. Question 55. Which Greek philosopher was sentenced to death by drinking hemlock? Was that Aristotle, Plato or Socrates? And you are correct if you said Socrates. Socrates was condemned in 399 BCE for corrupting the youth of Athens and impiety. He accepted his fate calmly, becoming a symbol of philosophical integrity and the pursuit of truth. Question 56. Which German philosopher wrote the 1887 work on the genealogy of morality? Was that Martin Heidegger, Immanuel Kant or Friedrich Nietzsche? And you were correct with Friedrich Nietzsche. Question 57. Can you name this famous Roman-built aqueduct bridge that crosses the river Gardon in the south of France? Is that the Pont de Gard, Pont Neuf or Pont Saint-Benezet? It is the Pont de Gard. The Pont de Gard is a remarkably well-preserved Roman aqueduct built in the 1st century AD to carry water over 50 kilometres to the Roman colony of Nimes. Question 58. The book The Lady in the Lake features which fictional detective? Would that be Sherlock Holmes, Hercule Poirot or Philip Marlowe? And it features Philip Marlowe. Question 59. Which female sprinter set 2 world records in 1988 that still stand today? Was that Alison Felix, Florence Griffith Joyner or Marion Jones? It was Florence Griffith Joyner. Flojo set the 100 metres world record and the 200 metres world record in 1988. Both are still unbroken as of 2025, making them some of the longest standing records in athletics history. Question 60. In Roman mythology, who was the queen of the gods and protector of marriage? Was that Juno, Minerva, or Venus? And the correct answer here was Juno. Juno was the wife and sister of Jupiter and played a key role in many Roman myths. She was especially revered by Roman women and had a temple on the Capitoline Hill in Rome. Now, before we wrap up today's quiz, I just want to give a shout out to another excellent quiz channel, and it's run by my good friend Arno. He's just about as passionate as running quiz channels as I am, and you can check out his latest quiz video here.